Good day, good morning. I hope you're doing really well. We are going to talk a little bit more deeply today about the more nuanced aspects of attuned eating. And I'm your host, Tracy Brown, somatic nutrition dietitian and attuned eating specialist. So if you are watching this and you haven't watched any of the other seen any of the content this week, I do recommend that you watch video 1 sometime today if you're watching me live today, or you don't have to go. You can watch this one first, then go back to number 1. But on Monday, we spoke a lot about just kind of the process of attuned eating. And I wanted you to know, kind of like some of the different layers and nuances, and is basically a big overall summary. And yesterday, I posted a blog post that I wrote back in January about sometimes we have to think more about food until basically we don't need to. That's essentially the blog post name. It's long. But it talks about something that I hear very, very, very commonly in terms of getting more peace with food. And it's that we do often have to pay more attention to our eating, to our body signals, to what will work before it becomes natural. And I know a lot of us who have just sick of and tired of thinking about food, our bodies, what we should eat, what we shouldn't eat. We often want just like this, and I did too. There's no judgment here. It's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to think about food. Just tell me what to do. But that doesn't get any of us really truly out of the obsession. We have to kind of eat and feel and sense and attune our way to actual peace. Now, I know there's exceptions. There are some times when, I know for me, when I first started recovery, I needed a meal plan. I needed I call it, it's gentle structure, but I really needed the containment of I don't have to think so much. Now, I did have to make decisions. I did have to plan, and that's a normal thing that we all have to grow up and learn how to do. And so if we're struggling with that, we need to take some time to get really clear, what feels so hard, or what is the block or the barrier to knowing what to eat or what to choose. It could be our diet mentality, or our food rules, our feeling like we're not entitled to eat what we want, or that's not the right time. So you might have some things to dismantle, and you're probably going to need to say, I'm just going to make a commitment. I'm going to eat breakfast between 8 and 9 a.m., and that's kind of what I'm doing, and I might not feel like it. And I know that's really hard for some of us to hear, but if we don't do those experiments, we're not going to really know true accuracy of what our body's saying if we've been disembodied for a really long time. So that's why that part is so important. I talked a little bit about that in video 1 and in yesterday's email, so make sure you check all that out. So we're going to jump ahead a little bit today and talk about this process is really more than just eat whatever you want and stop dieting, basically. And you all know that, but I just want to make a little catchy headline there, is that there's so much more. There's so much more that's available to discern and unpack, way more than any book could ever write to you about. And that's what I want you to get excited about. There is so much to learn about how our bodies work each week, each month, different phases of our life, different parts of the year, as well as there's different kinds of hungers, which we're totally going to talk about next week. I promised a couple different topic ideas. Next week we will talk about different kinds of hunger. But for today, I want to talk about when people come to work with me individually, or even in my groups, what you'll find is that, the first couple sessions, I'm gathering information like all assessment times are, and really understanding what behaviors or thoughts were in place with different parts of our life and how that impacted our eating, our ability to reach for food, our ability to get our needs met or not, what inhibited that. And so, it's like your story, and it's really important. So those are all the things that over the course of working together, people, that we are basically going back down that door, back to that doorway, and going essentially kind of back in time and putting in place what was missing to bring it back forward to the place where it's food is just a non-issue, and that's the beauty of this process. So I'm going to take a drink of coffee real quick. what often happens is that we maybe understand the principles. I didn't have principles to learn from, so my way of teaching things is kind of different. I think the principles are awesome. It's a really great way to have some guidepost of what to know to look for to dismantle. It's great. But because I did things a little bit more organically than that, what I find is that what happens is at the beginning we need some kind of containment. We do, because when you let go of the lid, it's almost like, imagine everything that you've ever contained about yourself, how we deal with happy, mad, sad, or afraid, how we deal with being in the world, how we deal with having a body. It's like in this jar, and there's a lid on it, and the lid is a diet. And so when you take that lid off, all that swirling stuff in there that we don't really have clean, neat compartments for, is feeling all big and swirled up, and you can feel like too much, which is why so many people go back to restricting, or go back to restricting and binging, and then the cycle's back going again. So what I want to suggest to you is, when I say containment, what I mean is not necessarily meal plans, but an understanding of what level of kind of circle around you need not to feel unsafe. And so that could mean you're regularly eating. It could mean that you make a commitment not to not eat past a certain time in the morning. And so again, that's a little bit of the containment I was talking about. But it could also mean that you're committed to taking time for yourself every day. You have to create a new normal. And the normal that you're used to that upholds some of these eating disorder or diet culture thoughts or behaviors, that can't really be the way you live. And there's got to be some things that have to give. So if you're somebody who is like me and your life, it used to be full bore, how much can I accomplish? How much can I do? What can I do to get approval? How much can I work? How much can I accomplish? Go, 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 go. Not paying attention to yourself, basically being a disembodied person doing stuff, but not really present. If that's the way your life is, and you're expecting yourself to somehow do something really miraculously different with your food, that has to be addressed. And so my first suggestion, and a part of the attuned eating process in my book, is learning how to slow down. And I know that's really difficult for people, but we talked a lot about compassion last week. That's an ingredient in attuned eating, but slowing down. It's not just slowing down to know your hunger and fullness, which is obviously mandatory if you're going to learn how to be an attuned eater, or basically a normative eater, but it's also going to be not just knowing your hunger and fullness and maybe get the clarity of what you need to eat and what would best serve your body at that moment, but also how are you doing? How are you doing? Are you feeling up and buzzy? Are you feeling kind of shut down? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Is your brain spinning? Are you feeling like, I don't even know how I drove to work? How did I get here? We know that we're not fully present. And we need to understand, is there something about your life that is driving that? Because even if you get your food looking right, how many of us, you might want to raise your hand here. I'm totally raising my hand. Is it I got good and renourished, probably within the year and a half after I got serious. Okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to re-eat. I'm going to stop not eating. I'm going to, dismantle these food rules, challenge my fat phobia, the internalized stuff, the external way I live. All that's being done. I'm going to eat more food. But what was there was okay, I kind of took the lid off, but I couldn't take it off all the way. And that kind of was the body image part of things. And that's a huge part of attuned eating, is really quickly in the work, within the second, third session, when I work with people, we are getting right in there around the body image. Because sometimes when you wait too long, you hit a wall and you get stuck. Okay, my eating's okay, it's pretty good, but then I had good and bad days, and there's not, and it's normal. We all know that reclaiming our lives from diet culture, it's not straight line of ooh, it's always progression. It's burp, 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 burp. But there's some things you can do to help not get in these big caverns and have to dig your way back up. It's am I on top of really, really quickly when I say I feel fat, I feel bloated, I feel like I need to get fit, I gotta have the food. Am I learning really quickly how to decode? And I've done tons of videos, and two of the three of my free offerings are people learning how to decode. I've got a couple different ways they do it. Two of them I've provided through free gifts. So if you don't have those, make sure you go to my website, look in the resources and free gifts tabs, and you'll see those and you can get those. If I remember, I'll put that below as well for you guys. But it's really important to right off the bat get going with that. If you're not already doing that, I suggest you start today. Like, if you're noticing that like body image is a thing that's thwarting your attuned eating efforts. So attuned eating isn't just like saying no more to diets, but you need to also know what is it with that you're saying no to. And often if we don't recognize that saying no to diets isn't quite the same thing as like I'm okay enough of myself to slow down, to feed myself, to attune to what my needs are. And if there's something else that's buzzing or there's something else that's dropping out, like what is that sensation? And can I be with that? And can I be a witness to that and say that I'm here? And what is this about? So this is totally part of that will make this journey easier. Not necessarily feel easier, but I think it will give you a tool that a lot of people don't really recognize that it really needs to be done, with all the breaking the food rules to eating all the foods to cultivating your space, who you hang out with, who you listen to, what you watch, what you listen to. All that needs to be done. It's important. But just as important is really being able to recognize that everything that we're thinking about food, everything that we're feeling about food or body, that's a potential doorway in. And I know sometimes people say, well, just like if you've got a lot of motor running in your mind about like calories or food rules or macros, or I should do this or that, sometimes it is just best to like, that's just the motor, not doing that, I got to get on with stuff. Perfectly fine. Or maybe you're having worries about your health and it's like spinning. Well, that's certainly not making your health better. It's can we be willing to like, oh, that's spinning. Okay, well what is it that's feeling too much right now? Or I'm reaching and I don't feel like what I need is there, and like, actually, what is that? What is that sensation? And so some of you watching might be thinking like it scares me to slow down. Of course it does. Because you are going to feel stuff. And if we're not feeling like that we have the capacity to understand what that is, or just hold space for that, and it feels too overwhelming, we're not going to do it regularly. And I think that's where we get stuck. I think that's where people really do get stuck. And it's important to recognize that. I'm going to leave us with this thought I have, is that oftentimes we confuse our internal world and sensations as dangerous. But the truth is, it's just really uncomfortable. And that right now at the time of this video, I really, really hope, and if I'm wrong, and you're in some kind of actual physical dangerous situation, you need to get out of that. But otherwise, in this very moment, you're probably relatively safe enough. And the question is, can you give yourself the support that you need to be able to be with what you're feeling? If you don't know how to do that, please reach out and I'd be happy to help. And it's not so much a discussion of like what this means or like over analyzing it. It's really about how can you give your body support to do the thing that your body's asking you to do, which is either eat, stop, slow down, because our body gives us a lot of signals every day, all day long. Oftentimes we just don't have the practice because we've been disembodied from diet culture or whatever we've gone through, trauma, and for good reason. Who wants to be in your body? Who wants to be in a body that feels really dysregulated and all over the place? But our job to really have attuned eating be something that we have a finish line with. Like, our bodies never stop changing. We never stop getting feedback and information. It's just that you can get to like lasting peace, where you're doing pretty good and then something happens and the bottom falls out. That doesn't have to be this is it. It doesn't have to be what it is. And so I'm going to answer this question here. Basically, someone has mentioned here that I don't know how to get out of this internalized fat phobia. I would ask you, maybe in your body, what physical state do you often feel like you're in when you're in that space? Because that's not who you are. That's not who you are, is this person who can't see the goodness and the variety in life and in yourself and others. There's going to be a piece there that's like, because it's not who you are. It may feel like that there's an aspect there that needs to hold on to that, and I would be really curious about what that is. Not that you want to hold on to it, but there's like a layer of, I think it's an illusion. It's a total mirage that there's anything wrong with bigger size bodies. It's just, it's just conditioning and programming. It's not inherently real. It feels real because we have to walk around this earth with people doing that. You saw the article I shared yesterday. Somebody had that lived experience and it was terrible. But it doesn't mean that it has to be your forever reality, that even if people are totally disgusting to each other or jerks, it doesn't mean that inherently you have to hate yourself or dislike what you look like. It really just is a matter of like every time you feel that way, every time, there's something in you that needs to be essentially just witnessed and seen and heard. And if you can do that over and over and over again without judgment, then you're well on, and this is part of the attuned eating process, you're well on your way to some lasting peace with just yourself as a person. So thank you all who show up live. So appreciate you all. I can't, I'm just really somebody who has, gone through this journey and has just had the privilege of witnessing hundreds and thousands of other people get freedom and peace too, not just from food and body image issues, but just to feel more safe in their own bodies. And thank you all so much for watching and supporting me, sharing this with you in the little, sound bites and bits I can, to not take up your whole day and to let you know all what's possible. And if you need more, nuanced help that I can even give in a video, please reach out to me. Know that pretty soon I'm going to have a private community that we do this stuff where I can answer in a group way your more nuanced questions about this personally. I'm really looking forward to getting that out here next month. It's just been a dream. I did a version of it, and I've been doing a version of it for a couple years, but I've kind of figured out a way to make it better, more private. And you all are teaching me how to do that as well. And, learning from you all the last, I've been online now about, I guess, consistently 4 years, 5 years trying, you've all taught me so much about like just the intricacies of, different kind of journeys all trying to get to the same place. And I'm going to be including that in this space. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you join me. And I hope you have a really great rest of your day. So take care. If you have questions, please let me know. And I have already some journal prompts ready for you for tomorrow around these topics. So please make sure you tune in around this time. It's not going to be a video, but it's just something posted that's ready to go for you all to be thinking more about. So thank you so much for watching, and take care.